News 8 at 11 with Phil Sanchez.
Welcome back to Big News of the Day. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted and arraigned for his role in the 2020 election interference case. For tonight's UnPHILtered, we're speaking with two members of Indiana's best political team, Kip Tu and Mario Maslamani. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us on a busy night. Your initial reaction to not only the indictment, but today's news and the arraignment as well. Mario, we'll start with you.
I think most people were expecting this to come, so I don't think this is big news in the sense of the indictment. However, I think one of the big things that came out of this indictment is the possibility of additional people being charged, co-conspirators in this case. It appears that there might be 6 people. The question I would ask is, why were they not charged? Were they not charged because they're trying to push this case forward, or were they not charged because the state is looking, or the government is looking to potentially use them as witnesses in their case in chief?
Kip, your reaction to the case and all that happened today, transpired today?
Sure. I've heard a lot of commentators today say, it's a sad day for America. I actually think it's a good day for the United States of America. We've had a lot of bad days, the January 6th insurrection being one of the worst. And this is a day when we're beginning to get justice. And so I think it's actually showing the rest of the world that we hold people accountable for their actions. Donald Trump hopefully will be going to jail.
Talking about the political point of view here, though, your thoughts, Kip, on whether or not this is going to help or hurt the former president, politically speaking?
I think initially, as we look at it, the polls will probably show a bump or two. But I think the drip, this is the third separate indictment for different things in the course of 4 months. I do believe firmly that that has an effect, and in the long term will have a big effect. Negatively for him.
Mario?
Republicans and Democrats all are waiting to see if this will negatively impact him. Every indictment, every time he's charged, the only thing that happens is he raises more money and he does better in the polls. If you're looking at the polls between him and the other people running in the Republican primary, he's leading by large amounts. You look at him against Joe Biden. He actually is leading a lot of the states that are going to make or break this election on deciding who's going to be the winner. So unless he's convicted, I'm not sure this matters. And I don't think that there's going to be any of these trials are going to occur before the primaries happen or the conventions. And to be honest with you, from doing federal cases, working in state court, I don't think any of these cases are actually going to go before the election in November of 2024.
Kip, I'll let you react to that.
Well, I hope Mario's wrong. I mean, that's my first reaction. I think we need a swift and a speedy trial. I think the American people deserve to know if this guy is guilty of criminal actions before they vote for him. So I hope that they are expedited, and I hope that the Trump folks don't try to slow it down just to avoid that, which I'm sure that's what they're going to do, because they don't have any integrity whatsoever. They don't care about the electorate. They don't care about our democracy. If he cared about the democracy, we wouldn't be here. So I expect them to try to delay it as much as they can. But we deserve as Americans to have a speedy trial.
Kip, what did you think?
Phil,
go ahead, Mario.
Phil, here's the problem. Democrats keep talking about a speedy trial. As a defense attorney, the person that has a right to a speedy trial is the defendant. That being Donald Trump, if he wants a speedy trial. The public, the state, they don't get afforded a speedy trial, because at the end of the day, our criminal justice system is based on the premise that you are innocent until proven guilty, and that the defendant, the individual that is innocent until proven guilty, has every right to ask for a fair trial. That meaning he gets an opportunity to look at all the evidence that the state has. He also gets to present evidence, or that being discovery, to the state to depose, that being having people brought, having them on the record prior to a trial, being asked questions, and to conduct a full and thorough investigation themselves before they present or decide how they're going to attack a case. So the state, and it's funny because...
In theory, Mario, in theory, you're absolutely right, and I'm not going to disagree with you. But in fact, and in this particular case, we're talking about somebody who's known for several years that this was coming. All the people that have been interviewed. He knows who's been interviewed. There are no surprises here. What it really comes down to, do you believe Mike Pence or do you believe Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump said, "Oh, Mike, you're too honest."
There are going to be a voluminous number of witnesses that
all Republicans, by the way, I might add. Every single witness so far is a Republican.
I feel like we could do a half an hour on this, guys.
I'm just grateful you're not a judge, nor are you a defense attorney, because everyone would be guilty under your premise.
You guys.
Because, as a defense attorney, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. That's the reason that our criminal justice system is the best in the world. And
look, I agree with that, Mario. I don't disagree with you.
All right. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about this for weeks, if not months to come. Gentlemen, always good to see you. Thank you so much for taking some time on Unfiltered. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.